way.
Bath bombs galore after the other day. Had a bit of fun with nades being thrown into baths, you name it. Heady cut, heady cut. Why? Okay. Why me? That's a question so many of us ask.
It certainly is.
I feel like Fresh, Jess have probably all said that at some point. A day of abuse and stick, and they're just like, why me?
Why me?
Why always me? Lion says, why always me?
Lion, why always me? Lion coming in as our first operator ban for Villa then. Interesting. Just to prevent those attackers coming in and using his gadget, which is going to freeze them all in place. If you move while the Lion scan is active, then you do get pinged out. Only lasts for a couple of seconds, but still very powerful. Thatcher going to be a pretty stock standard ban for that second one. Defensively, what are we expecting? Maybe a bit of Wamai. Wamai is always popular. Valkyrie, Mira. I'm just thinking, you know, potentially on Villa you get the top of the main stairs can be locked down with the Wamai Jaeger combo sometimes, so we might just see one of those going out.
Valk.
It will be Valk.
Oh, is it going to be Valk?
Now then, that's very different.
It is a little bit different, yeah. Been a long time since we've seen Elebans come flying through, and I think on this map you normally associate her with the cubbyhole that you see up towards the northeast side of the map on the top floor. Lock yourself in there with a couple ADSs down, have an absolute field day. So maybe a more specific target ban coming through, but looking towards Talon's bans, got to touch on them. Lion and the Elo coming out at the same time. You do get a few teams per region that really enjoy their target bans, and at least in this game, Talon acknowledging that. The Lion ban, no doubt a big thing because they want to be playing out around the map, don't want to get themselves locked down. So maybe you force a player on the side of T1 to pick a little uncomfortably and step onto something like a Decabi to help hunt down those roamers. And it's, as I say, Ace, it comes to light. It's fancy.
Almost as if you've seen this game before, Des.
Absolutely. It's almost as if. Well, the Flores being taken away is a bit of a hit. We know how strong Flores is in the current meta.
Yep.
I think especially when you see mute bans come through, you know, Mozzie about to get hit by the Veroni nerf as well. So May finally just becomes that little bit stronger in the future, Ace.
First sight is going to be Trophy for Talon. Interesting choice. We've seen Trophy sort of dip away in popularity a little bit recently. Almost the third sight for some. We've seen AVG and Dining and Kitchen becoming the two of the primary sites quite often. But Talon, they're going to try and lock down Trophy Statuary to begin with. So what are you going to see from the attackers? Well, there's a number of options particularly. We would generally expect to see a little bit of clearance underneath. They need to be very careful. Couple of nitros on side for Talon. So Soldier, Demic, more likely Demic. I would expect to see downstairs. The Kaid at the minute is going to be setting up and putting electrocores underneath to try and hold things down. It looks like Demic might be playing towards the south side, which is one of the main attacking pushes that I was going to discuss. You will come in through Study, through Aviator Games, push up from that south side and try to apply pressure. Alternatively, they'll push directly into Master, Bathroom, try and get control of Astro and push in from that sort of side. But always got to be aware of that underneath. As I say, at the minute, we've got Canos down there roaming around. There's also the possibility for vertical nades. We've seen plenty of kills coming in from them recently. And with 4 on side for T1, they want to get themselves established underneath potentially and get them used. We'll see how they go. There's lots of different options when attacking this site. Absolutely.
And I think you look back at the games we cast on this map last week, we saw very much a big focus on the south side for the defenders. Things like Echo drones being moved down there, Malusi Banshees being down there, all kinds of good stuff. And T1 are starting things out in round 1 with some good stuff. Not quite a rush, but very fast-paced here. Gone 6 is to burn the way through. Shield removed away. 11 has stepped in, but does he know about the man behind the reinforcement? No, he doesn't. Does get traded out, but not before he's finding Azzy.
One going in either direction, but that man PJH, who I always like to keep an eye on, he's the one who can make things happen. He's a real catalyst, and he gets a kill there to put T1 in the lead. And thanks, he doubles down. Canos, they're all falling here. Des Talon picked apart inside a Trophy Statuary, and it's going to be T1 walking away with the trophy for round 1. They're going to be walking away with a big 1 on the scoreboard, taking that opening round.
You see, we were speaking about this Southside roam that you so often see. We mentioned the Malusi Banshees we've seen down there, Shields from Echoes, for example. Teams do like committing reinforcements and 1 or 2 players down there, and sometimes 1 below. What's a good way of getting around that? It's exactly the same as if you were attacking into, say, an SSG roam on Clubhouse and want to hit the site hard and fast. It didn't feel like a full rush, but it was very, very pacey. They got themselves geared up, they pushed in really hard and caught 2 or 3 players off very, very quickly. Good first round to kick things off. And T1 starting the scoring with the 1-0. Want to see more of that. Keep that pace up and make Talon, second guess themselves. Is this a good idea to have so many players off site when they can hit us that hard and fast? Heaven knows.
That's it. It might just change the strategy going forward for the defenders here. They're going to shift sites at least. That is one thing that's going to change. They're going to head down to Aviator Games, which is our south-sided site. And I'm going to say much the same as I did last time around. Attacking this site, not massively different to attacking Trophy Statuary. You just flip reverse it, Des. So they can push in from that north side, get control of Trophy Statuary and push down, looking for a map store plant or in behind the vault door. Alternatively, you take control of the main stairs in the south side of the map and you push up from there, maybe try to get in behind bar and get a plant down on that side from 90 corridor. But we'll generally see a focus from one side with maybe a little bit of pressure, a little bit of spice thrown on top, sending one man to the opposite side. So it may be 3 or 4 pushing north and just one applying pressure to study.
Interesting little proximity alarm we saw inside a bathroom as well, dug into the floor. Now, one of those ones that I imagine when you hear the sound going off, you'll be like, where the bloody hell's that coming from? And if they're unlucky, they may well not see it. But that just goes to me that it is quite literally being a proximity alarm for the defenders up to the north side. Expecting that push will start on there, and that's maybe when you see the would-be roamers looking towards maybe Canos and Azzy here to make a bit of an impact. But once again, T1 are starting things off pretty quickly, and already Talon are having to say, whoa, 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 slow things down, bring out the smokes, throw C4s, anything we can to keep T1 at bay. So going through a smoke canister, a C4, good early start coming out for T1, and Azzy gets found for the second round in a row.
Absolutely perfect from T1 so far, getting in there, getting aggressive, as you say, baiting out that utility, just taking away a nitro, taking away a toxic babe canister, all within the first 30 seconds. Very, very impressive. The concern from Talon there, obviously, that the rush was going to come through again, and in and amongst it all, they even managed to find themselves the opening kill as well. So T1 looking good at the moment. Des, you just got to ask the question. I came into this, I predicted Talon to win here. I wasn't sure if T1, and there's a long way for them to go yet, but I weren't sure if they could dig down and manage to double up on that win from last week. But maybe they've broken the seal, Des. Maybe this is going to be like a snake, them joke canisters where a snake flies out of it. Maybe it's going to be like that. Maybe that's going to be T1 from now on.
The thing is for T1, prior to last week, they had 4 points across the whole year. That is just how dire their situation was, and they all came from overtime defeats, I believe. They had their first win. It was like, oh, maybe we see some more. They didn't see the man initially, but do find him. There is a second, gets juiced up by the Finker. That's the gadget coming into great effect, and already it's a 5 versus 1 with still 65 seconds to play. Canos has got to work some magic, finds the down, but not quite the complete. There we go. It's looking like a near flawless round either. Whoa! Wall bang onto 11, off towards the 90 corridor. It's beautiful. But again, I don't know how confident I feel about a 1v3 coming back in with this much time still on the clock.
Another kill comes in. Another kill comes in. That's 3 now. PJH is in, getting the diffuser down though. Arakaze going to hold the long angle onto the 90 corridor, finds that final man and shuts it down 2-0 for T1. And Des, the Snakes are well and truly out of the canister at this point, because T1, they're in danger of running away with this after 2 rounds. They've really got a head of steam about them at the minute, and I know it's early for me to be saying that, but the point is, Talon just really haven't been competitive in these first 2 rounds. It's all been T1.
I imagine if they lose this round, you'll have a tactical timeout get called in. In fact, I did this the other day. I said, after this round, surely they have a tactical timeout, and it came in at that exact moment.
Love it.
Like he's got himself like a whole keg.
Yeah, it's like I've got this huge bucket in front of me, but I'm pretty sure it's just...
Every kill you get, you can take him out for.
His cup is a lot closer to the camera than he is, I think. But it did tickle me as I saw it. We're just getting a little replay here of Canos's attempt. Got himself 3. He did a great effort, a 1v5. Ace clutch is a rarity for a reason, Des. We don't see. It's absolutely disgusting, isn't it? Oh, you just love those. You just absolutely love those where you know that you've got somebody through the wall. It's a real beauty. But we're going to come into round 3, and the question is, will the tactical timeout prove to be positive for Talon? Are they able to break the stride of T1 here? And I'm not too sure, Des, because let me tell you, that stride was long and it was moving quickly, and I think it's going to take more than a tactical timeout to slow down this T1 side. Over the last couple of play days, they all really start to be looking like they're finding their feet now within this roster. And, in terms of APAC North and the league and the year, yes, it's a bit too late. You know, they're going to have to battle to stay in this, but that is the point. If they get themselves running now, it's the perfect time to hit form in their timeline.
There is no auto-relegation, so the better you can look towards the end of Stage 3 and use this as your kind of warm-up, ready for those relegation battles, I think is absolutely the right call, and it is looking better. T1, you'd say so far, have been electrifying. Talon left a little bit shocked. Now they'll do some shocking of their own. The clash being brought along here. I think the right answer, we spoke about the Decabi being picked in with the Lion being banned away. A good response coming out from Talon. You're being hit hard and fast, you're unable to hold certain areas of the map. Who helps you do that? A clash, but she does require a bit of support there. You don't want to get her naded out, you don't want to be in push from two directions, so I think the right sort of idea going on, just don't want to see them overextend a bit too far with this clash.
Hede just holding the top of the main stairs for the moment. As you say, as is joining him there on the clash. Need to be careful to keep that shield alive just to support that. Soldier going to get aggressive onto this master side. A lot of utility expended over there as well. Soldier and Canos going to hold on to the north side for as long as possible. And right now, T1 looking a little bit more, and I'm not using this particularly as a negative, but looking a little bit more scattered than they have previously. They've sort of worked into an area as a team over the last couple of rounds and just really aggressed forward, whereas now you can just see they've really spread out and taking some one-on-one fights here.
I love this how they've moved the clash up north as well to go for the support. They acknowledge that T1 were being slowed down, so let's stick 2, maybe 3 members up here. They do find one back. Soldier gets a double. Oh, and a triple as well. Does get traded into the down, but finds the headshot first. Finally getting converted, but that is one way to shut a round down. Soldier doing all the work that Talon could need, and surely, Ace, surely they don't lose it from here.
I wouldn't have thought so. 2 versus 3, man disadvantage for T1, and there's a clash still on the board. We've said this before, that clash becomes more and more powerful as you gain that man advantage. It becomes more and more difficult to deal with, and as they don't have the utility on side that they need to be able to deal with that clash, something like the nades of Finker or Iana that would just help to push and bully that clash around. They don't have that anymore, so as it's going to be a little bit of a nightmare for them. Fanxy going to head underneath for the time being. They've recovered that diffuser, but with 25 seconds left to go, you need to start thinking towards that top floor. Just looking for a cheap one through the floorboards there. Not going to find his man. The yellow ping's just coming in, but unable to locate him close enough, and I'm not sure what that drone's going to do to a clash, PJH. He was, I think, looking for the bait, trying to get the clash to flip to the weapon and take the opportunity, because he had the tactical deployment. Somehow he manages to get the knife kill. He's going for it here, but PJH can't find that last man who just scurried away and kept himself alive. And I feel like Talon just... They were pushing their luck at the end there. They got themselves a good advantage and then all of a sudden just started throwing everything at the last man, but fortunately one had stayed away. You scrunch your face up at me, Des, but that's how those things go wrong. That's how those things go wrong. You find yourself 1 versus 1 with 3 seconds left to go, and all of a sudden a quick flick of a headshot and you just lost the 1v3.
Would have been the greatest throw of the century if they had given it away, so I'm glad at least that the last man left alive. There was some...
Decorum.
Decorum is a one way of putting it. Some composure, some, dare I say, intelligence being shown to avoid the final gunfight. It does give them that first round. But you know what I'm going to say? Because there was a man who found a 3K very early in the round. It's a hero play. It's one man in Astro being challenged by 3 separate players and killing all of them. Now, in that kind of position, cool. It guarantees you the round win. You'll take it. But my problem with that is you can't rely on an individual player, like Soldier, or maybe even Azzy getting a good round coming out as well, to just carry you through rounds and give you the wins that you need. There needs to be good team play. And we did see elements of it with the clash being brought along, but to me, still wasn't fully convincing. Need to see a little bit more. We head down into Kitchen and Dining, which, by the way, is fast becoming my favourite site on this map. Really enjoy playing it, really enjoy seeing how things are played out by professional teams on it as well. The Pulse one that we don't really see super often, really. You're seeing more things help lock down the site, and you're seeing it here with the mute, with the laser gates coming out. Imagine Azzy out on the roam a little bit, playing on the Legion upstairs to keep a bit of trouble on the go. You know, Talon not a team that have backed down so far, despite the aggression and pace coming out of T1. They aren't playing scared and saying, right, back to site here, we can't win a gunfight, whatever else. They're still out there and trying to make it work, which is commendable.
Certainly is. Crazy Boy, you're going to be pushing into the laundry there. Just, again, stock standard attacking approach, really. Get in there, get through that single door. Here we go. Crazy Boy forces his way in with a kill onto Demic, but Talon are ready, Des. They're ready, they lock, they loaded. They managed to find 2 onto Arakaze and Crazy Boy, and that now leaves us in a 3 versus 3 as 11 finds 2. All of a sudden, a 2 versus 2. It's difficult to keep up with this one. Going absolutely wild in the first minute.
Yeah, in the first minute is the most important part. We were about 45 seconds in when the time the dust settled. It was crazy, but another excellent push coming out of T1. C4 comes
Beautiful.
through, not going to connect onto the plant. They've got it down here, and all the onus now falls onto Talon to make this comeback work. They do find one. Heady with a 3K in the round. PJH left to do it all. He's 3-0 at the minute. Is he truly unkillable? We'll find out surely in the next 10 seconds. No! Canos steps in and gets the shutdown. Heady with the big 3K, it's mentioned. This time round at least, T1's rush is shut down.
T1, I think, need to rethink their game plan a little bit here, Des. That hyper-aggression in the beginning of the rounds has worked well. It's got them a couple of rounds, but you can't keep doing it forever. Talon, they are very clearly prepared for that now. They're very clearly ready. I mean, that was even more than hyper-aggressive. That was full-on rush into sight. And Talon, they have got that locked in. They know what they're doing now. They seem to have settled into this game. They've leveled things up 2-2. The tactical timeout has done wonders for them. They've won both of the rounds since then. So for me, T1, back to the drawing board a little bit. Slow it down, play some Siege.
See, I'm going to disagree with you.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Wouldn't be the first time. I think looking at the 2 rounds, sure, the previous one you look at and say, okay, PGH was left, against 3, did kill 2, it came down to the 1v1. But
you're going to talk to me about hero players again, Des.
No, less so, because in that round there, that came down to a 2v2 with the diffuser stuck. Like, that was a great position to be in for T1. They've just gone on to lose the gunfights off the back of it. Good players coming out of Heady and Canos for sure, but it looked dicey for a few seconds. And that initial rush, it was a good response, and I think without the pulse there, they get hit by that super hard because the pulse must have been screaming. 2 coming up pantry, 2 pushing in east side. We can deal with this now. Like, guys, respond, be ready. And the pulse was still the opening death in the round. So I think that's now 4 entry kills coming in for T1 as well. They are dominating when it comes to these opening engagements and getting themselves a beachhead in the round itself. I like how that last round went. Again, just losing the 2v2 in the post plant, forgivable in a round or 2 for sure. It does mean, though, no matter which way you look at it, the scoreline still says 2-2. It is, as you said, 2 rounds since the rehost for Talon coming back in. Now we've got a game on our hands.
That's the thing. So Des wants to see the rushes and the aggression continue.
Gimme.
I think maybe a little bit of just a foot off the gas.
Decorum.
A little bit of decorum might just help them here. Just slow things down a little bit and play some Siege. I think the problem is that we've seen from T1 this season, that's not when they're always at their best. Sometimes being unpredictable and bringing that aggression is when they're at the best, and that could be the problem here. If Talon are prepared for that and start shutting it down, I'm not sure what T1 are going to bring to the board, and that could be an issue for them.
Do you want to touch as well on the number of flashes being brought along by T1? They've got 9 on side here because we're continually now starting to see that Wamai and Jaeger coming along. In all the rounds we've been in so far, all 5, 3 of them have had this combination stacked up. So if you want to burn through those, this is a great way to play it. And of course, in combo is the Mute and Mozzie, something else that we see a lot. What else are we seeing a lot? Opening kills coming out of T1. That ain't stopping in this round. Fanxy with his 2nd entry of the game.
Well played from T1, recognising the roamer underneath, getting in and dealing with him. Not something that they did last time that they attacked this site. They were still able to win the site, so not the end of the world, but they're just doing things a little bit differently. And as I said, that's a positive. Don't keep rinsing and repeating and expecting the same outcome. And this time dealing with Talon in a slightly different way. Got themselves the advantage. They are running freely underneath now, so they just need to be aware, Talon here, of the potential for those vertical nades. Maybe just keep themselves mobile, keep themselves moving around. The last thing you want is a yellow ping and exactly this happening underneath your feet. But Arakaze's first will miss. I think the second as well. He's looking for the mute jammer, but he's got on the wrong side of that, so that could be a problem. That mute jammer remaining in place and functional at the minute.
They still have one more frag left on 11 if they want to commit it towards trying to get it. But I think they're in a position where, well, you might want to save that one. Main reason, of course, being those nades. You're looking to really get inside a site, remove shields, which the smoke has brought along. There are things that you've got to concern yourself with. And they have things like the Gon 6s to play behind as well, let's not forget. Can make things really oppressive just to take those out from range once you've cleared your way through those ADSs. And, of course, the magnets that come out from the Wamai. One nade in hand does get the shield removed and a little bit of a tickle onto Heady. Not enough that will scare him away, and his last smoke is going to be deployed. This has been a much slower round, but it's still 2 kills to start. Make it 3 coming in for T1. they're back in full form, Ace. A 5v1. Demic, who has yet to find a kill, will find his first. Can he make it 2? Not quite. Plant going down from PGH with a ton of time on the clock. We'll find his second as they are taking a couple of 1v1s here. That's given a kill or 2 back, but it's not going to be enough to keep them going. Another shutout by T1 and a convincing round with 3 left alive.
Well played from T1 and a little, I think, Des, I'm going to say there, they've listened to both of us. I think a little bit of both there. They've gone in aggressively, cleared out the roamers, and then they've taken a step back and said, right, let's have a look at sight, and it's 35 seconds before they're pushing in there and really getting those final kills on the board. So I like it. They've gone in, they've kept what is great about their game so far today, and they've just adjusted slightly. They've not thrown absolutely everything at the wall in the first 30, 40 seconds. You know, they've given themselves that opportunity to just see how Talon react and to adapt and to work within the round to get that win. So it's going to be 3-2 for T1 now. They keep fighting, and the good thing for them is that they're on the attack here, and you would certainly say for any defensive side on Villa, there should be at least a couple of rounds available. So if T1 can come out of this with a 4-2 attacking half, you look at saying they're almost nailed on for overtime as a minimum there, and that's great for them.
Oh, absolutely agree. I think really for the side of Talon, a lot of the slowdown has come as a result of bringing along the Mute and the Mozzie. Like the Intel denial away. We saw this in the game between, I forget who Virtus Pro played on Bank. Who was it? Do you remember?
As you're asking me, it's,
I can't remember who it was.
It's 10 in the morning. It's not quite 10 in the morning.
Can't rely on you. Can't rely on Jess because she's got to have a coffee and she's saying Vitality. Oh, yeah. Thank you very much. We thought it was Na'Vi. I think it is Na'Vi. Vitality were the last game of the day. VP Na'Vi.
Medics.
Medics always
the font of all knowledge.
Yeah, that was nothing to do with Jess at all. It wasn't like she got the answer right in the first place. But we spoke about it then. You know, VP looked slow at points in the mid-round, but we acknowledged and said, well, when Na'Vi were defending the basement on Bank, often what they'd do is put their mute jammers on the ground floor just to slow VP down. Maybe one roamer out there, Blur often being caught red-handed very early in the round. But although it looked like VP was slow, it's because of the setups coming out of the defenders. And if nothing else, showed real composure and, you know, cohesion from the attackers to clear those out before, looking to make your push in before going for the drones for the execute, so on and so forth. So don't mistake a slowdown from T1 as them losing steam. It's actually a good adaptation from Talon on their defensive lineup that is forcing T1 to have to slow things down a bit, to think a bit more. And I'm enjoying, that we're getting to see both sides of Talon, the kind that can rush and be aggressive and really turn up the heat. And other times they can chill out a little bit, put it back into second gear, get the drones in, do the work they have to do, and then turn it back on again for the execute.
I say this T1 roster is starting to, you know, I won't go as far as saying unrecognisable just yet, but we're heading in that direction.
No. Let's say it. It is.
We're heading in that direction. This is a much better performance than we've probably ever seen out of T1 apart from last week.
I don't even want to say like he's become bad, but like 11 was the man that we'd always look at and say, oh, he's gone 20-5 today. Like surely you can't stop him.
I think it was more necessity than anything.
It is. Yeah, he's not popping off the way that he used to because it's a much more team-based play. It's not built around one player anymore, which is great. It's not that he's a bad player by any means, but it's become much more rounded, which is always good to see. And you can see that looking up and down the scoreboard for the side of T1. Even PJH playing on a more supportive position. Habana, every round this half is still 3-1, so things looking very good.
Talon looking okay in the round so far, though. Round 6, their final defence going to be in Aviator Games. Let's remember they're keeping hold of the top of main stairs. But once again, every single opening kill this round has gone to T1, and that trend does not stop here, Des. The train does not stop at that station as Fanksy, he manages to get it once again. Hedy trying to keep hold at the top of main stairs. He gets himself one, backed up by Soldier. Demic getting in on the action as well. 3 headshots, 3 kills, simple as that. 4v2 for Talon now in what is a very important round. They need to be coming out of this defensive half level pegging. They cannot go too far behind with T1 moving on to the defence. We're going to have Demic down in sight. Unlikely to be any opportunity to pick him up, so that leaves us effectively in a 2 versus 2.
Down into a 1 versus 2 as well. Canos not going to be able to get someone up here. I think the push in comes through, does get the down. Now they know where he is. So it's a glorified 1v1 at this point. In fact, no, the wheel goes back up again. I'm an absolute liar. The 2 versus 1, sorry. Soldier and Canos have now got it all to do against PJH. Sees one, finds the headshot. Can he find the last? In fact, Hedy's back up as well. So okay, it's okay. It's a 2 versus 1, even with them losing 1. But of course, both are a bullet from death. PJH has been in this situation before, pushing his way in through Aviator, looking to find what final 2 kills he can collect. One's behind bar, one's down, lay down in the corner like a rat. And just get the closing kill. So, all things actually balanced out, even though for a second that round did look a bit dicey for T1.
It did. You know, it's Talon getting 2 men down inside a site. I think, there was a smart decision there as the last man up to, I'm going to go and get somebody else up here. I've got the opportunity, and it left PJH in a very tough position to fight back from. So well played from Talon to lock things down. 3-3 on the half, though. You got to say that favours T1 with them moving on to the defence now. But we get these days where maps just flip on their head, and you never know. Talon, they might be able to come in and bring the same sort of heat that T1 have just brought to their table and just make it as difficult as possible for them, which I'm sure is what they're going to try to do. Now, we've got the Flores being brought along this time, Des. We picked up on the fact that it was sort of 6-picked away from, optionally left out by T1. Talon bringing it along. That'd suggest to me maybe a slightly slower game from Talon than we've seen from T1, because they're going to want the opportunity to send those Roteros in, clear out the utility. It's all about setting up for that plant-focused execute.
I just love how you get the massive variety between the two teams, right? Where for T1 on the defensive side here, you're still seeing the Wamai and the Jaeger, but you're not seeing Mute and Mozzie anywhere. Instead, the lean is coming in towards the Thunderbird, the Alibi being out on the roam with the Storm, that's soon to get nerfed, unlucky, and the Smoke as well, which we did see a lot in the first half. And you commented on it, that Flores is going to mean things have to slow down. There is 0 point in bringing along all of those Rotero drones if your intent is to rush and play fast. You've got to pause, let him get in there, remove the ADSs. And again, without a Mute or Mozzie on side, this is free real estate for Azzy. He'll be in there taking everything he wants from the defenders, unless, of course, their guns are pointed downwards, which really isn't where they want to be. Look at head height, not at the floor, kids.
So we've got Fanxy underneath on the Thunderbird. Certainly one to watch out for. Nitro in hand. He's going to be playing inside of living room at the moment, but he's going to keep himself mobile. I would expect he's going to be moving around, making it difficult for them to push him. I'm not sure how aggressive Talon are going to be on the roam clear. I can see that Demic is downstairs on the sledge, so I would like to see them trying to clear that out. The first Rotero going to be successful there in taking down the deployable shield of Arakaze. He's going to get his magnets out, manages to get himself a second. That's a big pickup. We know how valuable those Rotero drones are, and as this is going to send another one in, it's not going to go in the same direction. No, it is actually. He locks it in. He gets exactly what he needs, which is that ADS, but Arakaze does still have a magnet active, so that leaves us with just 1 Rotero drone left, I think, yes. So he's going to have to try and maximise the use of that.
I really need to see this come inside of Aviator for this exact reason. There's an ADS or 2 stats inside there, plus the shield. That really needs to be the focus for them, I feel, because look, 2 ADSs on the north wall, I mean, the shield's there too. If that isn't cleared, that is a major bottleneck for the attackers, unless their focus is going to be in attacking towards gaming instead. The pressure's coming up onto main stairs, which the defenders shouldn't be able to hold as easily. There are magnets scattered around, but no ADSs, no shield to play behind, does make it a much more risky affair. And you can see with 2 pushing in from Art Studio, that appears to be the game plan as their start, and there it is. I think that last one did come out. Was that a nade, actually?
I think it was from below.
It was a nade from below from Canos. Yeah, okay, that works too.
PJH just using those corner stations to juice himself back up, getting that HP. Arakaze manages to take out his second Rotero drone, and there comes the shotgun from Crazy Boy. On to 1, 2, surely not 3. Demic manages to find the kill, but Arakaze is there. 11 onto Aziz, and all of a sudden, just like that, blink of an eye, Des, and T1 find themselves in a 4 versus 1 and looking to take the lead on their defence. They are playing fantastically today. Great to watch, and what a stalwart performance from Crazy Boy on the stairs there. He just stood and said, "You will not pass."
Snap reaction time with the shotgun as well. The 2K coming in. Beautiful little closeout, and could have been 3 if Talon had been unlucky in that situation too. And this is, even with the pressure coming out of Talon from the nades from below, with the Roteros helping clear out main stairs, you're probably asking questions as to how on earth 2 Roteros got shot out there, knowing there is a player hopping there. You've got drones that can do the work for you. But Heady just going to sit up here like, I don't know, like a rooster would do and crow from the rooftops first thing in the morning.
It's about all that he can do at this point in time. He's even got himself up on a little perch there. Well, he's going to just burn out the clock. He's going to burn out the clock. He's basically giving his team the opportunity to have a chat to each other. It's, their choice, burn the round. They know that they've lost it, so they're going to take that one on the chin and see if they can just have themselves a little chat now. actual official tactical timeout that Talon took after round 2 did have a bit of an impact. It got them a couple of rounds after it, so maybe taking that 30 seconds and losing the round will be worth it to them. It'll just give them the opportunity to try and level things out again. But I don't know, Des, this T1 team, they're looking a little bit different. They're looking like their confidence is up, and that's something that we probably haven't ever seen out of this T1 roster. They've been beaten up repeatedly throughout the year, and now that they start getting a win, building the confidence, finding the kills, looking great as a team, that could really snowball now.
I find it really funny because not at all to call the person out or say they were wrong in what they said, but they were saying it feels kind of bad if you're the first place or the first qualifying Japanese team because you face off. I think if you beat the Korean number 2 seed, you come up against the 7th place APAC North team, which obviously many would say on paper is harder than playing off against the 8th place team. But I'm not sure that's so real anymore. We know that T1 are confirmed to be sat in 8th place once this is all said and done. They will be staying there, which means they will face off against the either first seed Korean team or the 2nd seed Japanese league team. Now, I don't know about you, but looking at how they're playing so far today, and the scoreline doesn't give away just how good T1 look compared to Talon, I think. For Talon, it's been kind of grabbing scraps out of rounds where you can. For T1, it has been dominant in 3 of their rounds so far, especially, and the others not too bad either. I just wouldn't really fancy playing up against them in relegations, given how they're doing so far.
No, absolutely not. This is, like you said, that really is the key point coming in. I'm looking at this and thinking, do I want to play T1 right now? Absolutely not, because...
Would you ever really want to play T1, though?
The thing is...
Would you fancy going in against 11 8s?
Me personally, absolutely not. I mean, we had our experience in the Face It Open Cups, and, we're going back for more, Des. We're going back for more, but, it certainly wasn't necessarily an easy one, so it just really does show you the gulf, between your average sort of everyday ranked player and these guys up at the top of the tree.
Let's just say there's a reason why we're casters, right? There's a reason why we aren't running around in the server like these guys are.
Even in rank, we're not playing at a terrible level. We're playing in there at platinum level, and when you start comparing that to, even a Challenger League level, a national level of competitive play, it's streets above. It's a different world.
Different leagues, both literally and figuratively. See how the round plays out, though, from here. We're 60 seconds in, and there hasn't been a massive pushing from Talon just yet, but you can very clearly see where their focus is. Currently all up towards the northeast side. Azzy, the beachhead, has stepped his way inside of the cubby, and they're looking to move their way in to take control of Master. With those air jabs going down at the very least, it will give them a little bit of coverage. And you saw the Iana decoy being used for the same purpose these drones are here. It's to find these cams. There's one in Master, there's one inside a bathroom. They should want to get those cleared out first and foremost, I imagine, without giving too much of the game away. Did they see it? Surely. It's inside the little, in front of the triple wall, up towards the top right corner. It's tucked away. I don't know if they've seen it. There it is, up right in the corner. Thank you very much, medics. I don't think they've seen it.
And the thing is, the rounds can be won and lost on fractions, on margins like that, Des, on seeing that piece of utility or not. Arakaze, for the time being, he's going to hold on to that deployable shield, just having the option to peek on into Master Bedroom. He's going to be flashed out for the time being, just dips himself away to avoid that as the shield takes the brunt of it. Now, Soldier looking to move into Bathroom. Going to clear out the Valkyrie cam there that they'd already sort of spotted out on the drones. Canos looking to clear out the deployable shield. Just being very careful because he knows he might get challenged. I tell you what, he gets more than he bargains for there. Hopeful just to get the utility, I'd imagine, but also manages to get his man, Arakaze, just getting a little bit overexcited there, a little bit eager and push him too far forward.
Information wins wars, and my God, this one might be about to win a siege round for them. It's still there, that Valkyrie camera feeding whatever they need, and they can see when the push will come through this wall very, very comfortably with, of course, the Dead Were My player being able to now sit and feed that information back and forth. They've got the control they need up here on the north side, but PJH catches Heady off to a side angle where he wasn't paying much attention and gets caught out. Soldier banged over the top by Fancy. Someone call CSI because it's a murder scene as he pushes in, taken out as well. A 3 versus 1. We've been here before. Demic with very little time, very little hope of being able to convert this round. T1 will go up to 5 and 3, and the domination in the second half continues.
That nade throw from Demic, and I don't want to place too much importance on it, but it just seemed like a really nice metaphor almost for how Talon's performance is going. It was like he just sort of half-heartedly threw it into Astro. I've got a nade out. There you go. I'm just going to chuck it in there. I know he was likely to be challenged from, I know there's reasons that he was doing it quickly, but it just seemed to sum it up. It was just a nade thrown into the middle of a room. didn't go anywhere near the shield, didn't go anywhere near the players that were on stairs or in there, and it just really sums it up. Talon just not having an edge in this one at all, and T1 taking full advantage of it, and there's looking great at the minute. I don't know if that's Talon making them look great. I want to say that it's not, because T1 have been unpredictable. They're coming in, they're all doing their part, they're finding their kills, you know, they're finding answers to whatever Talon are trying to bring. I like what I'm seeing.
The one thing I always do try and remove when thinking about a team's performance is, you know, are rounds being won by them running in and winning gunfights? And that can speak a lot about a team, but you can flip a coin in the next Playday, they're missing their shots, they're not the team they were the prior one. What does tend to stay relatively consistent is things like the communication, the team play, the droning, all that kind of good stuff. And I think so far from T1, we have seen that adaptive style on the attacking side, right? Where some rounds really fast, really coordinated, you know, 2 pushing pantry, playing for trades, whilst 2 pushing from the east. Like, there is always that trade coming in from the laundry side, of course. And then you look at another round where they slow things down, they clear out utility, and then they go for the push. You're seeing both sides, and they did run out of time in a couple of the rounds. It's definitely not the end of the world. But for me, at least, they are looking much better than what we have seen historically. Of course, when they come up against a bigger team that can gun them back, maybe you'll start asking a few more questions. I do like this hold, by the way. It's quite a big focus.
Interesting placement of that Electroclaw down in the basement to electrify the wall. We'll see whether that's something Talon pick up on. I'd make a bet at the minute, Des, that it probably won't be, because, you know, we've seen them missing the bits of utility. We've seen them, you know, not always having a clearer idea of exactly where T1 are and what they're doing. And I think that we could see that Electroclaw stay in place. We're going to have a nade coming out here to try and deal with it, but it ain't going to deal with it.
Fancy that. Bit of drone work might help you out. Oh no, he's going to commit a second.
The really bad thing that's just...
Oh!
Right, I was going to say the really bad thing that happened for Talon there was that first nade sort of jumbled around a little bit and came back out, so they weren't sure if they got near the electrical, and it baited the second one in, even though it was never going to get it. But without it going clearly through, it didn't give them the thought of, we don't think it's actually there.
Yep, and the worst thing is you might find Demic goes and tries the same.
You're going to burn 3 grenades on the same thing.
It's either that or they just completely ignore it, because you need Demic to be upstairs, and, you know, time waits for no one. You're already halfway through this round, so movement does need to start quite soon. Blowing out at least that castle barricade that was through on the pantry doorway does give Soldier a point of ingress into the site itself. There we go. They have found it. But now the question is, who's going to invest 20, 30 seconds to get downstairs and clear it out?
That's the point. You're going to be well under a minute by the time you've gone down there. Canos is on his way, but it was started at 1 minute 20. He's going to be 1:10 before he gets there, 1:05 maybe. So you've already burnt 15 seconds getting in there to start that process. You're going to be under a minute by the point you can even think about opening the wall. Demic does get himself an opening kill, so things might just be looking up for Talon inside of this round, but they've got a lot of work to do yet. 50 seconds left to go. They've got 4 members of T1 still out and alive. Arakaze on that top floor, still potentially going to cause a nuisance of himself. He's just watching into Memorial at the minute. He's not going to get any joy there, and we do get a man spotted out, just gets in behind his shield though. It's not a shield, but in behind the boxes. What a pick from Demic though, managing to just find an angle there onto Crazy Boy. And Talon, they've got the numbers, have they got the time?
That's the thing I'm worried about here. It might be a bit of a rush push in the dying seconds of it as well. The longer angle, not contested from the top floor, does give Arakaze a freebie onto Azzy as he tries to step his way forward. 2-9 in this game. It's not looking pretty normally for the point man for the side of Talon. Now let's see what Demic can do from above. Is there any more nades on side? Because that push is going to have to happen now. Heady, the hero of the moment, steps in, finds one. Canos yet another. It's Arakaze. Can't hit his shots. Canos getting the final 2, and Talon will finally win an attack. But it is on the offsite ace, and that is what concerns me.
Tough for Arakaze there, but on a different day, I think he gets himself a couple of kills and maybe finds himself in a more winnable situation. Certainly not an easy one still, but just missing a couple of shots, and that gave Talon the opportunity to close the round out. But it was a good round from them. They got that top floor control. They used it very well. You know, Demic getting himself a couple of kills from up there, and that's really what you're wanting from those vertical angles. If you're going to invest in the time and the manpower to get that control over the top of the map, you then got to use it. You've got to put it to work, and that's exactly what they did. Now, coming into round 10, we're going to find ourselves going back to Aviator Games. The important thing to mention, Des, is that was T1's third site choice. They've done much better in Trophy and AVG, so now the pressure's on for Talon. They're going to 2 sites that T1 have already won, and there's an opportunity, if they win them again, that they just win this one outright now. It could be 7-4.
Neat little change coming in as well, as it isn't Azzy playing on the Flores, it is Canos taking up that mantle in this round. So the Ana retired, but the Nomad stays in. They didn't have the Nomad back in round 7, but clearly put too much value on it for dealing with would-be roamers. And we saw, you know, for T1, we had Valkyrie out on the roam down to the south side last time. I think it's most definitely worth keeping hold of that, given the movement and mobility we're seeing coming out of T1. And probably worth mentioning, you know, when you saw Talon off on the roam, often it was more extended holds than it was so much roams, right? They were reinforcing walls, they were electrifying them, they were planting their feet and saying, we are keeping this spot of land. Whereas for T1, it's been much more mobile, getting out in the map and constantly being on the move, making drones useless in a way, which is why I think that Nomad is proving so valuable and why Talon don't want to retire it in favour of the Flores.
As it's just going to take out that default cam from outside. It's a nice little angle. It just denies that information without you having to risk yourself getting anywhere near the building. Soldier heading up onto another nice rappel angle, just using the exterior angles here to try and just work and soften up sight a little bit and see if they can find any early momentum here in the round. Talon just about to start feeding in those Rotero drones. This was something that we saw limited success with last time around, as if you remember the Rotero drones going in, a couple of them picked up by Arakazi in this position. Now, more utility is being used, I think, to try and ensure that they are successful. He manages to sneak it in behind the shield. I'm not sure, Des, that taking out the shield first is the play, because it opens up the line of sight of the floor for Arakazi, and that's when you see him start taking out those subsequent Rotero drones. This time it's going to go in, and I think that's a much better choice to clear out the deployable shield on top of maps. As he tries to push in and take out more ADSs, might find it, there you go, loses his man, whereas if that shield's in play and it's the last thing to be taken out, you can take those ADSs because he doesn't see the Rotero come in.
They still have a lot of flashes to play behind, mind you. You know, 5 on side if they need them, a couple of grenades in back pocket as well, plus the impact available on Soldier. If they want to time this right, they can make it work. And speaking of timing, Soldier, I think taking a couple of shots to the shoulder before he found Fanxy, but still found him regardless. Another opening kill, and that's 3 in a row it's worth mentioning for the side of Talon, who up to that had not won a single one in 7 rounds.
Nope, it's a good start, and PJH, he's going to try to find his man, but Soldier manages to get away. Crazy Boy, however, he's the one to find one for T1, and that's going to be Aziz going down. A little bit of a quiet game for Aziz. We do expect a little bit more sometimes from him. He's shown us some great performances, but just struggling a little bit today on 2 and 10. Demic, he's going strong though and continues to do so with an aid onto Crazy Boy, taking out the main stairs. But once again, T1 keep themselves fighting, Des. It's just trade for trade for trade. They always seem to manage to keep this man count level and keep themselves in the fight. And this is, as I've said, a T1 side that is exciting to watch. And this is what we knew that they were capable of, and they are certainly starting to show it. 30 seconds left to go, 3 versus 3, and Talon, you need to start finding your ingress.
Starting to make their way forwards up towards the north, it feels here. A bit of a rotate coming out later on. But T1 are rooted in. They haven't got to move anywhere just yet because it is a 3 versus 3 and the clock is not on the side of Talon here. Great shot coming out for PJH onto Canos up towards 90. Soldier a little bit late to the party, it feels here. 5 seconds only just arriving on main. He's not going to have a part in this one, and Demic's got to try and make something happen. Simply not going to happen. Almost a trade coming back through at the end, but the timer said waits for no one. Be another round going the way of T1.
And as I said, T1 getting back to those sites that they've already locked down, and now Talon have got to try and find a win on the second, which is going to be trophy and statuary. T1 guaranteeing themselves overtime, Des, and they're looking for the world like a win here. I'd be surprised if they don't close this one out, because Talon, whilst they've got some rounds, they just don't seem like, they just don't feel they've got the answers to a lot of what T1 is bringing. And T1, PJH there, couple of important kills from inside a site, just flips the round on its head again. 3 versus 3 becomes a 3 versus 1, and you're done at that point.
What I will give a lean to, I suppose I probably need to do, is Demic on the attacking side.
He's done really well.
Lights out better.
Yep,
like first
really,
half,
really well.
Barely there. In this half, whether it's the vertical kills, whether it's the gun kills that he's pushing through, a couple of nade kills have come out as well. Really showing good use of the sledge there in all aspects of the gameplay, which is always strong to see. But like you say, unfortunately, it's not really leading to the round wins that they so sorely need. They need 2 back-to-back, which would mean winning trophy and statuary, and if T1 then choose to rotate down into dining and kitchen, a win on the offsite again. That just feels maybe it's a bit of a press against a team that has done very well against them today on the side of T1. Do want to again give a nod towards T1's kind of kills across the whole board, by the way. 6, 7, 8, 8, 10. Very balanced up and down. No one player really stepping ahead and carrying the team through. It's a team effort, and that is something that, as we've said, we have missed from this team before. It's always been the 11 show. Now it's feeling like a much more well-rounded, complete unit.
And the thing is, it's been needed for the longest time. You know, we say it countless times. You cannot build a successful team on the back of one player. You've got to have others that are backing him up, and T1, I'm sure, are going to be very, very happy. And PJH, I just love it out of him. You know I do. Just that unpredictability and aggressiveness that he brings. It must make T1 a very difficult side to play against when they're on the defence. And, you know, T1 as an org, you know, obviously massively experienced inside of esports, and they just really seem to be bringing that to Siege. There's been a bit of up and down over the year, players in and out, and things are changing, but it certainly looks like they're going in the right direction, and they've just needed that time to apply that experience.
It's also almost ruthless at point with the way they made so many changes so fast as well when they picked up the roster in the first place, but they are a team who know what success looks like you say, again, were at least one of the most successful brands in League of Legends. Things have now changed a little bit, to be fair, as many more have stepped up to the plate. So clearly looking at Siege as their chance to make an impact in the APAC region. This camera, as we've seen before, was a terror for Talon last time round. T1 doing a lot of work with it. And these drones just slowly getting picked off here one by one. A couple being taken away in the start of the round. So good conservation so far by Talon. I'll give that to both sides. I watched it in the first half of T1. You'd often find they still had 9 or 8 left alive by the time we got round to the execute. So it's been good from both teams. And maybe a comment towards the attackers on how they haven't cleared them out so strongly. But still, not bad from either attacking side.
Quite a common technique there. Something that you can probably take away if you're struggling to get that wall open is you get the Hibana pellets on really low or the Selma charge, whichever you're doing from distance. Open up just at foot level, and it basically prevents the man playing in behind there with the impact nade. So then you move your focus upwards, you breach a little bit higher, and it shouldn't be getting cleared off by the impact nade, or at least less likely to, because you can just keep him forced away from that area, and that's exactly what they've done there. So I'd expect to see now further holes being opened up in that wall. Crazy Boy still locked inside of Astro. He's got his deployable shield. He's going to play his life there and just try to hold them out of here.
He's still got Fanxy playing on the Astro stairs as well, so he's got support if required, otherwise he could be, well, a bit screwed. There was one man holding up on the Astro window, now moving over towards playing inside a bathroom, so a bit of a rotate for Talon, committing more men out towards the east to try and brute force their way through. Probably aware that no one on the side of T1 was going to dare step inside of that line of sight of the window. And here Ace were down to that final 35 seconds. They've got 2 drones left alive. That information has bled away. But here comes the real bleeding. Heady onto Crazy Boy. The instant trade coming through, not a bad one, before Demic retaliates and gets one more. 4 versus 3, 20 seconds to go.
I was going to pick up on Demic. It was very important for him to get Fanxy and clear those stairs off. That's exactly what he's achieved. Canos moves into sight here. There is a man just holding that door. Steps out, makes the challenge, and he's going to shut Arakaze down. Talon looking good at the minute, but 11, he fights back. Soldier has to come off the plant for a second, but will go back in, taken down by PJH, leaves him in a 1v2. He can just hide here. No, Demic manages to get the diffuser. Surely, there you go. PJH steps in. He is brave when needed, takes the risk, finds the man, reaps the reward.
That's one of those that you look at and they were expecting him to come up through trophy. No, the man rotated down south, up through statuary door, and a comfortable closeout for, well, I was going to say the Korean team. There are 2 in this game, but for T1, we've bigged them up a lot during that game. They are on the up and up. Yes, they're in 8th place, but I do not fancy being the team that needs to face off